Member for Corangamite.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to rise and speak on behalf of Corangamite residents on the Prime Minister's motion on the 100th anniversary of the landings at Gallipoli. Mr Deputy Speaker, the Centenary of Anzac is the most significant period of commemoration in our nation's history. The 25th of April 2015 marked 100 years since that first fateful landing at Gallipoli. It was a very special time, but a very challenging time for every Australian, young and old. Mr Deputy Speaker, I've been incredibly proud to have represented the people of Corangamite at this incredibly important time in our nation's history, principally through the Anzac Centenary Local Grants Program, and I do want to join my other parliamentary colleagues in commending the work of the Minister for Veterans Affairs, Senator Michael Ronaldson, in the way in which this program has been delivered to all electorates and all people right around Australia. As we know, Mr Deputy Speaker, the government is committed to ensuring the Centenary of Anzac is community-focused. It helps locals remember, commemorate and pay tribute to the service and sacrifice of Australians who have served their nation. This resonated everywhere I went, Mr Deputy Speaker, as we made many announcements under the Anzac Centenary Local Grants Program. And it was a great joy, I have to say, to join with so many communities across Corangamite to celebrate the work of local RSLs, local schools, local organisations in their various activities to commemorate our national service and sacrifice at this very significant time. I think for many people at this time, Mr Deputy Speaker, this is also very personal, and so many families around the nation were directly impacted by those who went before them in the service and sacrifice they gave on behalf of our nation. And for my family, it was also personal. Private Raymond Sullivan was a member of the 7th Australian Infantry Battalion, and he was particularly special, of course, because he was a great uncle of mine. He was actually one of 750 Australians to die on the day of that fateful landing at Anzac Cove. It's a very sad story. He, like so many others, arrived on the beaches, and within a matter of hours, this young 24-year-old butcher from Brunswick lay on the fields, shot in both legs, and within 24 hours he was dead due to blood loss or exposure. It destroyed his family, and for many, many months his parents didn't know whether he was dead or alive. In 1916, the Wounded and Missing Inquiry Bureau of the Australian Red Cross took evidence about Raymond's death, and it reported that witness said he believed he was about the last man to see Sullivan on the day of the Anzac landing. He was lying on the ground. He thought he was pretty well, even though he was shot in both legs, and the witness gave him some cigarettes and a drink from his water bottle, and then heard nothing further. So, as we know, he was one of hundreds of men who died on that day. In World War I, from an Australian population of just under 5 million, 417,000 enlisted, 332,000 served overseas, 152,000 were wounded, and more than 61,000 never came home. As I say, Mr Deputy Speaker, these stories have affected so many families, and it was with a great deal of joy, I have to say, that I joined with so many communities in their commemoration of the 100th anniversary of Anzac. And I'd like to reflect on some of the local grants. The Bannockburn Primary School was awarded just over $3,000 for a beautiful remembrance garden, and I'm a big supporter of the Bannockburn Primary School and their move to a new, bigger school, and they did an amazing job. The Belmont Fire Brigade received just over $3,000 also to support a memorial commemorating the service and sacrifice of brigade members during World War I. The Ceres Community Organisation, on Sunday the 19th of April, I officially opened the First World War Memorial Gates in Ceres, which had been restored with a $10,000 grant, and that was one that really had been championed by the local community in a fantastic project. The Belmont Primary School, another fabulous primary school in my electorate, received a grant again to renew a memorial garden. The Colac RSL sub-branch received a grant, and that was to support the Cressy community with a new flagpole and some other restoration work at their Colac RSL sub-branch in Cressy. In Torquay, we had some fabulous announcements. In January, in fact, the Prime Minister announced funding for a new memorial plaque at Point Danger to honour residents who served in the First World War, and that was certainly a wonderful day. Point Danger is an incredible part of Corangamite, where this year some 15,000 or more people gathered for one of the largest services, Anzac Day services in Victoria, and it's very reminiscent of the beaches of Gallipoli, looking over the cliffs to the east as the sun rises. And we're also incredibly proud to support the Torquay RSL, which does such an incredible job with that service, through a grant for a memorial garden. There's another fantastic project that we're supporting, the Military Historical Society Geelong and the Geelong Military Reenactment Group. They did an amazing job at their Gallipoli Before and Beyond event, which received a $15,000 Anzac Centenary local grant. And as I say, Mr Deputy Speaker, many more grants as communities from right across the very large electorate of Corangamite, some 7,500 square kilometres, did so much to work together to commemorate this very significant day. The Lawn RSL and Historical Society unveiled a fabulous project. They celebrated and honoured 32 soldiers who enlisted from the Lawn area. They too have a memorial garden, and they've done an incredible job to honour those who served from the Lawn area. Another wonderful project, the Surf Coast Shire, is also supporting this project. It's a memorial walk along the Barwon River, where we're actually upgrading the Princess Highway, a fantastic project that the federal government is working very hard on, of course. It's a new walk of honour commemorating 64 Australians who received the Victoria Cross during the First World War, including Albert Jacka. And Albert Jacka is a famous local resident. Of course, he was a great Australian, receiving the Victoria Cross for his heroic acts in Gallipoli in 1915, and some actually say, Mr Deputy Speaker, that Albert Jacka was such an incredible soldier that he could have been honoured 3 times over. The Golden Plains Shire received a grant for a wonderful project that they're doing, a local publication. There's a Teesdale photographic restoration project. This publication, the Merited Soldiers History publication, and also the restoration of the Teesdale War Memorial. We supported the Borough of Queenscliff with its fabulous Anzac Day service, and also the Ocean Grove and Barwon Heads RSL with a number of grants to support both their activities in terms of reaching out to local school children through an education program, and also an upgrade of the cenotaph in Barwon Heads. I want to just finally thank the great work of the Corangamite Electorate Committee, Graham Rawlins, Councillor Bob Merriman and Keith Hankin, who did an incredible job. It's been a great honour to join with the Corangamite community to commemorate this very important time in our nation's history, lest we forget.